Hey there, fellow sea glass lovers. Thanks so much for joining me today. This is part 5 in my Lighthouse workshop series. And in today's video, it's really getting fun. If you've been following me so far, you've got your frame all prepared and ready to go. You've got your pattern all prepared and ready to go. And today, we're picking out materials to use to create that sea glass mosaic. I really hope that you get some great ideas from this, and by the end of it you'll be all set to get all of your stuff picked out to use in your sea glass mosaic. So when it comes to gathering materials for your sea glass mosaic, you really want to have the whole thing out in front of you so you can get an idea of what you want. And I always start by picking out some really special pieces, to some of my highlight pieces. So I have this really beautiful bottle bottom that I want to put up here for the sun. So I just take these things and I set them into place. And I went through all my cool pieces of driftwood and I decided on this piece. I don't usually use pieces this big, but this piece is so cool. And for some reason it's got a bit of sparkle in it. So I'm going to put those there. And I like to pick out pieces for my inukshuks. I love using sea pottery for my inukshuks, but I'm sometimes use something different. So I have a couple of these rocks that I want to use for the bodies of the inukshuks, a white one and a gray one. So I pick out my, I just go through my stuff and pick out what I think is going to work well for all my inukshuk pieces. And I'm just going to set a bunch of these in place just to get me started. Now my sailboats, I know I want to do this sailboat in white sea pottery and brown, so I have my trays. I have a whole tray of white sea pottery, and I'm just going to set that aside until I get to the point where I'm ready to fill in the sail. I'm not going to put those in place right now, but my other sailboats, I picked out some pieces that I want to use. I'd like to have one larger sailboat, and because it's larger it's probably going to be a little bit closer. I think that's part of it. And then this little red piece that I found that has blue on the back, I'm going to use that for a flag on top of the sailboat. And I'd like to have another smaller one up here. And then I picked out pieces for another one over here where I'm going to have a few pieces. And this is where you just want to kind of play around with your sea glass that kind of looks cool, and decide how you want to lay these out beforehand. Now these two pieces that I'm using for the hulls of the boat are actually broken pieces of clamshell, but to me they look really cool as the bottoms of boats. And then I want a tiny little sailboat up on the horizon here. So I have a little piece of pale blue milk glass that I want to put up there, and a little piece of pottery with some coloring on it. So I'll just set that up there. And now my other blue, I've got a blue in this sailboat here, but I also picked out some blue for birds. I love having birds in the sky because my sky is going to be all filled in white. And then I picked out a piece of blue for the flag on top of the lighthouse. And I have some footprints in the sand here. I have 4 footprints. So I picked out some really cool rocks. And these rocks I'm going to just set in place here. And they're going to be used. I'll glue them in once I get to this part. And then I've got all these tiny little rocks that are the same color that I'm going to use for the toes. The toe footprints. So I usually just grab a bunch of these off the beach, and then what I'll do is I'll arrange them like big toe, middle toe, third toe, fourth toe, and baby toe. So I'll play around with those and get those in place. And I also have a really cool rock with stripes on it that I picked out for my turtle. And you can put these things in place, and then once you're going, you can always change them up. So I have a head of the turtle, I have a tail, and I have 4 little rocks for the feet. And I picked out some very beautiful greens to put some trees in here, because I'd like some trees up beside my lighthouse. So I'll just set those in place. And see, now I've got, like, you can see it kind of coming together just by putting some of your highlights in place. And you've got things sitting there ready to be glued on when you get to it. Now, the other thing, I was going through some of my pottery and I found some really cool big pieces of pottery with like writing, like not writing. This would be earthenware that has been collected at the beach. And I thought, I'm going to put a strip of those right up the walkway, and then I'm going to cover the rest of that walkway with rocks. So I have some of my favorite beach rocks. I'll just arrange a bunch of those in there that all fit in and kind of fill that rockway in going up to the lighthouse. And at the base of the lighthouse, I'm going to put all white stones. So that's going to be I'll just put a few of those in place, and then I've got my tray sitting right here, so I'll have them when I'm ready to go. I've got a few little seashells, because I always like to put some seashells. I usually put them I'll glue them right onto the base of my window, like the frame of the window, just like they're sitting there. And what else do I have here? I picked out a few pieces of petrified wood. This is wood that has been in the water for years and years, and it's like fossilized. So it can be really sparkly and whatnot. So I might put a few of those out here, just like they're fence posts on the beach. And the other thing that I found that I thought was really cool, this is a fishing weight. I found that on the beach there a couple of weeks ago, and I thought, oh, that might be really cool to include in my beach scene. So I'm just going to set that here. I might glue it in, I might not. I'll see how it works when I get everything in place. Now, beyond that, basically, I have a tray of little brown that's sitting here, ready to go. I have, as well as the little brown, on my windowsill, I've got a dish of large brown, because sometimes you want a few large. You don't want them all the same size. And I have my green, because I need the green for the water, all different sizes. So I have that sitting here. And I have white, because I'm going to fill in the sky with white. And I also have a big dish of white, or a dish of big white, because I like to vary my size in the sky as well. So, the other thing, I have a jar of these shells that have purple on them. The wampum shells, or they come from quahogs, and when they get softened at the beach, like beach glass, they're so pretty. And I decided I'm going to use those shells to make my clouds. So I'm going to kind of put them together like a mosaic and have 3. That one maybe has too much purple in it, not enough white. But 3 clouds in the sky that have little shades of purple in them. So I'll just put a few of those in place for now, and I'll pick the rest out later. So this is really coming together. I feel like I've got a lot of stuff in place. Oh, the other thing, you gotta see this. I have this most spectacular piece of yellow sea glass. I found that quite a few years ago, and I haven't known where to put it. So when I was going through my things, I decided that's going to be the light in my lighthouse. And just a few weeks ago, I was down on the beach and I found one of those, you wouldn't believe what I found, one of those disco balls that's on a styrofoam bulb, and a lot of the little mirrors had fallen off. Let me show you. So I pried off all those little mirrors, and I am going to use those in my lighthouse. What I'm going to do is use a bunch of tiny little whites along with the mirrors and just kind of randomly put them in place. And I think it will make for a very interesting lighthouse. So that will be kind of cool. It came from the beach, and they're not super sea glass, but they are a bit rough, but it's kind of a cool thing, so I want to include that. And the only other tray I have here right now is I have a tray of aqua, and what I'll do with these is I will mix those in with the white in the sky, just to give the sky a little bit more interest. So now I know that I don't have everything that I'm going to include here, because as I'm going along, I'm probably going to think, oh, I need a little bit of this or a little bit of that, or maybe some of the stuff I have here I'll change my mind on, but that's okay. I've got a start, I'm ready to go. And just remember that the more planning that you do before you start your piece of sea glass mosaic, the easier it's going to go and the more likely you're going to be happy with the end result. So don't skimp on the planning. And so your homework for this session is to go back and go through all your sea glass collection and decide what you're going to use. The key is don't have everything you own in front of you. Pick out the things that you think you're going to need. If you've got all of your sea glass and beach treasures and everything in front of you at the same time, it's going to be overwhelming. So try and refine it down a bit to the things that you're pretty sure you're going to want to include in this sea glass mosaic. So thanks so much for joining me today. I hope you make it out to the beach, and happy sea glass hunting.